Welcome to the Spiritist Companion Podcast. My name is Yuri Castro, and I'll be your companion on this journey where we study, reflect, and put Spiritist teachings into practice. If you enjoy what you hear, don't forget to subscribe, to follow our pages, and to send this podcast to someone else as well, so we can spread the light together. And today's topic, my dear friends, is perhaps one of the hardest ones I've ever covered here. Not because it is difficult to explain, since Spiritism has a great deal to say about it, but because it's a topic almost everyone carries close to them. Either you've already lost someone you loved, or you fear your own death, or even both at the same time. But why is this fear so powerful? Let me start by saying that the fear of death is not a lack of faith. It's not spiritual weakness. It's a profoundly human response to the unknown, or at least we think is the unknown. What frightens us isn't only the idea of dying, it's the idea of ceasing to be. That everything we are, our memories, our attachments, what we've built, the people we love, will simply vanish. And when we lose someone, that fear takes on another shape, the pain of not being able to hug them anymore, to call them, to sit at a table together. The feeling that a piece of our own story somehow left with that person. And these are real questions, and they deserve real answers. So for that, let's go to the Spirit's book, a book that was published all the way back in 1857, and it's a book full of questions and answers, and the codifier of Spiritism, Allan Kardec, he's going to ask the spirits about why the worry of death exists if they have the whole future in front of them. This is all the way back on question 941. And they're going to say, well, since early on, people have been persuaded that there is a hell and a heaven, and that they will most likely go to hell because they have been taught that whatever belongs to the realm of nature is a mortal sin for the soul. Thus, when they grow up, and if they have any reason at all, they can no longer accept such a belief and become atheists or materialists. That is the answer for question 941. And they're even going to say, and it's why they are led to believe that nothing exists beyond the present life. And if we pause to consider a little bit what they're saying here, we're going to understand how we have lived other lives, how we, even in this life, may have encountered these ideas, these religious beliefs of the heaven, of hell, and of doing good things, otherwise we're going to go to hell. So who would not fear dying if they have a guilty conscience? And which one of us has not experienced guilt? Which one of us has not considered, wow, am I really being a good person here? Am I really doing the right thing because that time I didn't do that? Or I should have done something different, and etc., etc. We're all flawed. Therefore, we all make mistakes, and we will experience guilt from time to time. So this fear of death, which is something that has puzzled humans for thousands and thousands of years, is something that is very understandable, very natural in a way. And thinking of our own death can be something quite frightening, but for those of us who had experienced the loss of a loved one, we can even see death through other eyes. Back to the Spirit's book, question 934, Kardec's gonna say, doesn't the loss of loved ones cause us suffering and act as a legitimate source of sorrow, since such loss is both irreparable and independent of our will? And they're gonna say, this cause of sorrow strikes both the rich and the poor. It comprises a trial or expiation and a law for us all. It is a consolation, however, to be able to communicate with your friends through the means available to you, while awaiting other ways that are more direct and accessible to your senses. They are already alluding here, my dear friends, to this idea of communicating, of being in touch, of being connected to the loved ones that have already passed away. And this is something that Spiritism brings that is just simply beautiful. It's such a consoling set of beliefs and philosophical teachings, because with that, we can even visualize and see how death is not the end. In a way, we can jokingly say that Spiritism killed death itself, because we see death through other eyes. We're talking about the death of the material body, not the spirit. The spirit is immortal. The spirit stays on after the body perishes. We learn in Spiritism that the pain of the separation is normal. It's part of what it means to be human, to have genuine bonds. No one who has truly loved will lose someone and feel nothing. But the wise spirit also adds something else that changes everything, that the separation is only apparent. The person has not disappeared. The being you loved continues to exist, conscious with their personality, their memories, the affections they built. What death interrupted was the physical togetherness, not the being. And this isn't empty comfort. It's an understanding that when it truly sinks, transforms how we live through grief. Knowing that life continues doesn't make grief disappear, and it shouldn't. In a way, grief is the price of love, and it's a price worth paying. Spiritism will never ask us to suppress what we feel. It asks that in the middle of the pain, we don't lose sight of what is real, that true bonds are not broken by death, that the love that was built continues to exist on another plane, yes, but it continues. And when someone we love passes on, we lose things that are very concrete and very painful. Like I said, their physical presence, their embrace, their voice, the daily rhythm of life with them. That is real, and the pain of it is very real. But, my dear friends, there are things we do not lose. Things that grief sometimes makes us forget, at least for a while. We don't lose the love that was. We don't lose what the person planted in us, the values they passed on, the memories that stayed, the way they changed who we are. We never lose the spiritual bond, which the spirits describe as something that persists beyond physical death. Yes, the soul lives on. And according to Spiritism, reunions are not just possible, they're likely. Those who loved truly tend to find each other again. The bonds created by sincere love don't dissolve. Often they grow stronger on the quote-unquote other side. And yes, there will be hard days, dates that hurt, moments when you catch yourself wanting to call someone who can no longer pick up. In those moments, Spiritism doesn't ask for stoicism. Allow yourself to feel. Grief isn't weakness, it's proof that the love was real. Say a prayer. Remember what was good. And trust, not naively, but as a conscious choice, that the love remains, that the bond wasn't and will never be broken, that the distance is real, yes, but it isn't permanent. And we can look at some situations here about this topic and how to apply it or how to embrace it in real life situations. First, losing a parent. There's something about losing a parent that shakes the ground beneath our feet. However expected the death may have been, the absence is immense. And what Spiritism offers here isn't an explanation that erases the pain. It's the reminder that the love built in that relationship didn't go anywhere. It's in you, and the spiritual connection continues. We can also talk about losing a child. There's no adequate comparisons for that pain, and I'm not going to try to minimize it. What Spiritism teaches as the promised consoler is that children are spirits on their own journey, who came with a purpose we don't always understand. And over time, for many people, this understanding can help bring something close to peace. Not the peace of accepting an injustice, but the peace of trusting that there is a larger plan that our sight simply doesn't reach. We can also talk about sudden loss, when death comes without warning in an accident, unexpectedly. The revolt is almost inevitable. The question, why, screams inside of us. And Spiritism doesn't have a simple answer for that. What it offers is the trust that God does not act without wisdom. God is love, God is fair, even when we can't see that wisdom from where we stand. And also the fear of our own death, which is what started this episode. A lot of people carry this fear quietly without talking about it openly. Fear of pain, fear of the unknown, fear of leaving behind those they love. And Spiritism speaks directly to that fear. Death is a natural phenomenon that all of us will pass through, and the best way to prepare for it isn't to think about it with anxiety. It's to live well, to live with awareness, to tend to your relationships, to do what needs to be done now. And my dear friends, perhaps one of the most common questions from people who have lost someone is, what can I do for them now? Spiritism's answer is more concrete than it might sound. Pray for them, yes, but not as an empty ritual, as a real connection between two planes of existence. The spirits teach that sincere prayer reaches and helps those who have passed on. Considering their spirits and they are still alive, just in a different way, we will reach them through prayer. And beyond that, and I find this beautiful, one of the deepest ways to honor someone we've lost is to keep living with dignity, to grow, to become the person they perhaps believed we could be. The best gift we can offer to those we love who are no longer here is our own transformation. Thinking about death, our own or that of those we love, is one of the most powerful ways to learn to live better. When we remember our fragility, when we consider that this time is finite, the presence of the people we love isn't guaranteed, that the days we have together are numbered, we get less caught up in small arguments. We forgive more easily. We say what needs to be said. We hold people with more presence. The awareness of death, when it doesn't become anxiety, becomes wisdom. My dear friends, maybe you came to this episode carrying a recent loss, or an old pain that was never fully resolved, or simply the fear of one day having to go through it. Death is not a door that closes, it's a door that opens. Those who have gone to the other side haven't disappeared. They continue existing, continue learning, continue being who they were in essence. And the bonds that genuine love created will never be broken by time or by distance between planes. The grief may still remain, but it can be lived in a different light when we understand that it's temporary. And in the right time, in the reunion that love makes inevitable, we'll see that the separation was far smaller than the pain made it seem. My dear friends, thank you so much for being here with me today. If this episode touched something in you, share it with someone who is moving through grief or carrying the fear of death. Sometimes just knowing you're not alone is the beginning of something. I hope to see you all in the next episode next Monday. Until then, take care of yourself and take care of the people you love. With fraternal love, your Spiritist Companion.